So many options out there for you to start your very own podcast. Well, too many choices, well, it leads to overwhelm and paralysis. Be paralyzed no longer, because I'm going to give you the shortcut to figuring out what equipment you need to get to start your very own show. So you want all the details? Well, you know the drill. You're going to have to stick around to find out. Welcome to Waist Up Wardrobe. I'm Christine Vartanian, a civil engineer and attorney turned personal style expert and image consultant. As the founder of Jade for All Seasons, I am passionate about unveiling the inner confidence of my clients by developing their personal style. But is getting dressed up still important in our virtual world? Well, that's where my experience can help with what I call Waist Up Wardrobe. Waist Up Wardrobe is a podcast for all things you need to conduct an outstanding Zoom meeting. It's about how to dress for the camera, but it's not just about the clothes. It's about everything you need to know to show up on brand and professionally for the camera. Join me in the Waist Up Wardrobe studio to discuss how to navigate this virtual world and dominate from behind the desk. Hello, Virtual Nation. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Waist Up Wardrobe. This is episode 57, where we're continuing the whole series on podcasting ABCs. And today we are on E, and E is for equipment. So today I'm going to give you all the details on what the best equipment is for you to get started on your very own show or podcast. And to help me do that here today will be Rick Moscoso, my producer, who's always in the production room making this whole set go round. So thank you to him, and you'll be seeing him later on the show. We want a dialogue. We want to hear all your thoughts. So put those in the comments, put them in the comments here so we can go ahead and answer your questions and talk about what you guys think when it comes to equipment when you are live streaming or creating your own show. So, the Waist Up Wardrobe podcast is designed to help you dominate from behind the desk. We want to have you have an ultra professional virtual office where you can live stream from, work from, or podcast from. And that is the whole objective of the show. So you'll find in all the 57 episodes that we've had to date, every one of these episodes is a step closer for you to dominate from behind the desk. And many of my listeners have asked, how do I start? Where do I start when it comes to podcasting? And so we're taking you step by step through the process of how to build your very own show. And today, focusing on equipment, because that is such an important thing that is easy to fix and easy to acquire, I'm going to be walking you through every piece of equipment you actually need to really put on a very successful show. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is sound. As you know, sound is the most important thing when it comes to doing a live video, because sometimes, even though people might be watching a visual show, sometimes they'll turn off the image and all they'll do is listen to the audio. In that case, you have to always make sure that your audio is really optimum, that it is great, that you have really invested in a mic that really works flawlessly. So when it comes to sound, there are two options for mics. And, I know Rick has a real strong opinion about this. And one of the first ones is the Yeti mic. The Yeti mic is so cool because it looks really cool. It's a good quality mic. And it comes in all these different colors. And Rick will put up a picture of one. And we're going to be putting the links to all these equipment pieces in the comments so that you can see what we're talking about. So that's the Yeti mic, as you could see on the screen. And it comes in a black, but it also comes in different color variations to align with your brand. So it's a little bit more of a visual, fancy mic. It works well, and it comes in blue and red and white. So it really is cool. And it even comes in a silver. So that is one mic that I've recommended a lot for somebody who wants something that's super aesthetic. But there's also, and you'll find the links in the chat here for you to click on and to to purchase if you wished. And so the next mic I'm going to recommend is one that Rick he also recommends, and I'll have him come up here and talk about it as well. It's called the Rode mic, and we'll put a picture of the Rode mic in the chat. And hi, Rick, how are you?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you're partial to the Rode.
Yeah, I mean, I started with Rode in all my video production just because there's such a huge choice of mics, and then as we transitioned into live streaming, I found that there was also some really good options that they had, and podcasters would frequently use their USB mics. There were some other high end ones, but the one that I found, and I know Christine is using that. If you could hold it up,
Yeah.
is the Rode NT USB Mini, and this is a very very good production mic for podcasting or live streaming. It's very inexpensive at just under $100. It to your computer, and the fidelity of this mic is really really good, and it's flexible because the base. If you look at the picture there, the base is actually magnetic, so it comes off. That base can actually be screwed onto a boom mic, similar to what I'm using. Right?
Yeah, can you show us what you got going there with your mic?
Yeah, let me see. How do we? Let me take this off. So if you look at my mic, I'm I'm on a boom.
Yeah.
That's just out of camera. And it's just hanging here, and I've gone to this. Normally, it was coming from underneath, and just the mic was popping up here. But I've been trying a couple different things. So this is a boom mic, or this is a boom that's holding my mic. This is not a Rode mic, but this is a Studio Shure, pretty high end mic. It's about $400. It's the SMB7, and you'll see a lot of podcasters use this type of mic. I know there's a lot of radio shows that will use this just because it's a high fidelity type of mic, and I like the richer sound. So you can hear as I'm speaking, next to it, it's very very rich in fidelity, and that's kind of like the sound that I'm looking for. So regardless of what type of mic that you do get, though, you really should invest in some sort of high fidelity mic like the Rode USB Mini at a minimum. Don't rely on the mic that's coming from your computer or from your phone, whatever you're broadcasting from, because, like Christine said, sound is paramount when you're podcasting. Whether it's just an audio, obviously, if it's an audio podcast, then sound is even more important. But for a video broadcast, sound is even more important than the video itself, because not only will people tune out on the video because they'll be multitasking while they listen to the show, but you can have the best video camera, right? High-end production camera showing the best image of whatever of your set, but if your sound sucks, and if it's really bad and scratchy and it sounds like, remember the day when you had a VCR camera and it's the camera was standing on a tripod like 15 feet away, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, and then you remember how the sound sounded like from that, because the mic's 10 or 15 feet away, so you get the whole room ambiance going on, and it's just very distracting. Same thing goes for podcasting. If you don't have, if you have a mic that's on the camera, on a webcam, or on a computer that's a couple feet away from you, well, guess what? You're going to pick up ambiance throughout the room, because especially if you're talking into a computer. And sorry to go on in this, but I think this is important because I'm talking into two 27-inch monitors here. That's glass fronts, and if I didn't have a mic like this that was in close proximity to my mouth, if I was using the computer mics, I would get all kinds of sound reflection from these two glass monitors, and it would not sound the best. And for me, sound is very, very important, and it should be for you too, especially if you want to sound professional.
Yes, exactly. And that is the number one thing that can turn somebody off of listening to a recording, right? If they can't see you, that's not as critical as if they can't hear you clearly, because that can be very disruptive and distracting. So that's why your sound is so important, especially too if you're putting these on iTunes. You don't want to have bad sound, it's not really ideal. So yeah, so the Rode mic is excellent, and we're going to be putting that as well in the comment box for you to to refer to look at, to see while you're shopping for that optimum sound. It is definitely worth looking at these. And you know what? I've done so much research with the help of Rick, and just, having been podcasting for 57 weeks. I started out with a mic that was adequate, but it wasn't ideal. And then I switched to the Rode mic. So it does make a difference, and it's definitely a worthy investment. And, it's not so prohibitive cost wise. Just under $100 is very reasonable for a quality mic. The next thing I want to move into is camera. Okay, so if if the mic is the most important thing to your podcasting, the next most important thing is the camera, especially if you're having a visual interaction, a visual, virtual office where you have to be on camera and see others and they see you, or if you're streaming a visual show. And we have really done a lot of digging, and really the most popular, the best camera we have found on the market is the Logitech camera. And they have different versions of them, but you'll see here on the screen that we have the Logitech C922 Pro, which actually is, I believe, the most up-to-date version of it. It is also a really perfect price point. It's just under $100 again, but it works beautifully. You will see the difference. It's like night and day. Coupled with the Logitech camera is an app that you can download from logitech.com, where you can actually use the app to enhance the brightness and some of the features of how you're showing up on camera, to get a wide screen and so forth. So many of the people that I've worked with that have opted for this camera really enjoy having that app, because it really makes life so much easier, and it actually enhances the visual picture. So Rick, I would like to get your take on camera, because this is like right up your alley, just being in the audio visual world. Tell me what your thoughts are on this camera and why you think this is such a great one.
Well, this is Logitech has always had really good cameras. I'm using a C920, an earlier version. It's an HD 1080p camera, really high fidelity, and it's they've been known amongst podcasters or live streamers to be the gold standard in live streaming. So I have another studio setup with a mirrorless camera, but I typically right now I'm not broadcasting with it, because as I coach clients, I want them to be able to see what I'm using, especially when I'm teaching them to use what I'm using, right? And so yeah. So I stick with my Logitech C920. It's really good. In fact, if you can find it out there, they're really good value. They're typically, I think I've seen them as low as $60, but $60 to $80 you can find them. Even if they're refurbed, they're well worth the investment, because they're inexpensive, and like I said, they've been the gold standard for a long time.
Yeah, and the idea here today is to really give you the gold standard, to give the audience the gold standard on what equipment to use, but also to, these are very cost effective for the quality. You're getting your biggest bang for your buck. So Rick, really quick on the camera. Does this camera work with most computers? Or say somebody's streaming from an iPad, could you use a camera with that, or are you limited?
Yeah, you can use this on a Mac, or you can use it on a PC. As long as it has a USB input, then you can use it. Now, if you have an iPad, for example, you cannot plug in directly to it. They have an okay camera that's on there. It's pretty decent, and you can use it, every once in a while if you need to while you're on the road. The thing I haven't tried, though, I was just thinking about this, is that they do have a a Lightning. I don't remember what the newer iPad connectors are called, but the older versions have a Lightning port where you could plug in a USB hub that would accept a USB connector, which is required for the Logitech. So I have seen. Actually, I take that back. I did one with a customer with her iPad Pro, and she wanted to stream with her Logitech C922, and all we had to do is get a hub, and everything was fine.
Like an adapter of some
Yeah.
kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we could probably add to our list that we don't have now, but we'll add to the list. That the adapter works because sometimes too, if you have a MacBook Air, you don't have enough ports to plug everything you need in. Potentially you need your charger. You need the charger to the computer. You need the camera, you need the headphones, you need the mic. So sometimes there's not enough. So you would need that adapter, and we can put that into the to the comments to help people kind of explore that. So do people, and Rick, this is a question for you actually. Do people use their phones to stream? Is that ideal, or like say they're limited by that?
It's that's an interesting question, right? Because starting off, don't get intimidated by all this tech, all this gear that you think you have to invest in. If you have a really good idea that you want to talk about, then just start streaming on your phone. Or doing, even if it's just Facebook videos or Facebook Live. There's nothing wrong with that, but with using your phone. You remember way back when I first met you, I put you on the spot and we started doing Facebook Lives at Starbucks or something like that, and I was using my phone to broadcast on, and it's baby steps, right? As you get more in the rhythm, you get more comfortable with with your show, then just take baby steps to upgrade it with technology, with obviously a mic first and then a camera. But with as far as a phone, there was a scenario that I was talking to a client a while ago that I had, and they had really bad internet service. They could only get DSL because they were out in the middle of the country, right? They didn't have cable. They could get DSL, and all of us know that if you have DSL, you might as well just send a letter because it'll get there faster than the signal from a DSL line. So I said, well, how's your phone service, right? And he goes, oh yeah, it's spot on. I have 5 bars. And so I had them, well, I said, in a pinch, let's just do this. You have a choice. You can either broadcast from your phone, since you have a strong signal out there, or you can use your phone as a hotspot and tether your computer to your phone hotspot and broadcast that way. And so because of their location, they had to improvise, and they ended up using both methods to broadcast their show. And fortunately for them, they were using a web-based software like we are here with StreamYard. So there wasn't a big drain on their computer, and they didn't really have to worry about horsepower of the computer. But the broadcast was fine. They were primarily on solo, so they didn't have to worry about bringing somebody else in and dragging the signal down anymore. But everything went with a hitch, and they're still, I think to this day, still broadcasting either tethered to their hotspot, or doing it, if they have to, on their phone.
Yeah, that's being resourceful right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a way. It's just a matter of being creative and really trying to create the optimum conditions for where you are streaming from. So that's excellent. Next, I want to talk about lights, right? We definitely, so if the first step is really making sure you have good sound, and then the second step is to make sure you have a good camera, then you really need to be lit well, because otherwise, you don't want to have distracting shadows or lighting. And for that, the number one light, if you're going to invest in just one light, that would be the single light that like I use. It's a circular light in front of me, and we'll get a picture up of that and the link in the comments. And it's the ring light. I don't know. I was blanking out on the name. It's a ring light, not a circular light. And this really is the number one piece of lighting that you would need, because you can do a lot of things with it. It brightens and and you could change the volume of the light. You can make it lighter or darker, and you also get these panels that you can add, maybe go a little bit more of a yellow light or more of a blue light, depending on which panels you use. So also really, really important to make sure that you have some decent lighting up your face. And so that would be the number one light you need. Now, if you wanted to go a little deeper and create sort of a 3-point lighting where you're being lit at 45-degree angles from the sides as well, the other piece of lighting you want to invest in is the Elgato. And Rick is very passionate about the Elgato light. And we're going to show you a picture of it and have him talk about it, because the wonderful thing, I think what makes the Elgato light so great is it really diffuses the light. It's soft. It's not like a concentrated light. And the Elgato light, you can buy that on Amazon, and it's called the Elgato Key Light Air, and it comes on a stand, or you can get it in with clamps on the bottom, and it can clamp to your desk. So in any case, I would love there's the one with the clamp, and you see how you don't really need the pads. If you don't want to put it on the ground, you could put it on your table, depending on if you have space on the ground or not. And so, Rick, I know the Elgato, you're very passionate about these lights because they are such a high quality light. Can you tell us a little bit about it and why you think they're so great?
Yeah, these are great LED lights. I wish I would have known about these before I got the lights that I have, but I had some video lights. They're LED panels. I think they're 10,000. I can't remember how many little LEDs are in it, but they're great for what I'm using here. And I've got 3-point lighting. I've got a key, I've got a fill light, and then up on top of me is a hair light that separates me from the background. So the Elgato lights, though, let's go to those. And these are great lights because, number one, they can work on any computer, whether it's a Mac or a PC. They're independent of that. This particular one, the Elgato Key Air, think of it as a desktop lamp, right? So it has a desktop stand that sits on your desk, and if you have a big enough desk, then that's fine. One is sufficient. I usually recommend 2, so you're lit both at the 45s. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about the Elgato lights, like this Air, then go to their site at elgato.com. You can see some of the lighting schemes that they have, some of the other products that they have, and the other thing that they have is, now this is a little bit more expensive because it's a stronger light. And this is the Elgato Key Light, and this is a LED panel. It's bigger than the Air, but if you're restricted on the space on your desk, and you do have a lip behind the desk or someplace where you can clamp it to, then it does have a table clamp that you can use to mount this. It also has accessories. Let's say you have a type of desk where there's no place to clamp to. They have stands that this will adapt to, and you can adapt it to a floor stand. So the light will actually go up to, I think it's a little over 5 feet tall. Is that what you recall?
Yeah,
I think it was something exactly like that. Yeah. And so that sits nicely on the floor. And what I see people do is they'll use this key light, the bigger key light, as the main light, and then the Air as a fill light, right, for the other side. But regardless if you have 1 or 2, just move it around to where you're illuminated the best, where you have good illumination. I typically don't like too much straight on because then you tend to look a little flat. The ring light certainly overcomes a lot of that because that light kind of wraps around you a little bit more, and so it is a softer presentation. But again, this is probably the lights are probably the second next to camera, your second point of upgrading for your podcasting system.
Yes, exactly. And so there's so many great options, right? And you don't have to invest in 3 lights or 4 lights, right? You can start with the ring light, that front lighting, and then maybe one Elgato light, and then just layer on the lighting. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just take
Yeah.
baby steps.
Yes, it is. It's baby steps so you can get started, right? We don't want people to feel that paralysis of like, oh, where do I start? Or how come there's so many options? This show is really designed so that if you wanted the best in each of these categories of equipment, you have it really just spelled out for you. It's like a checklist. So take advantage of it. Okay. The next thing you need to consider is headphones or earbuds. So I have earbuds in my ears, and I'm going to just quickly take it out. They are clear. And that's why most people can't really notice that I have them on, and I have them draped behind me. So I love them. I love them because they're clear, so you don't see them, right? Even if, and they're just hidden, and they are very easy to put on. They are very lightweight. They don't bother me at all in any way. And they're just seamless. So I prefer that over a headset. Rick, what do you use?
I use the same ones. These are the the M6s. Excuse me. These are the M6s. They're black though, so they match my hair. but I love them too. I mean, I used to wear these gaming headsets.
Yeah.
Or studio over the ear. These are over the ear headphones. So when I edit, I tend to use these because they noise cancel a little bit better. Plus, I can hear really subtle sounds if that's necessary. But for production wise, for live streaming or for podcasting, these are great. They fit right in your ear perfectly. They isolate the sound. You can hear all the little nuances that are going on when you're speaking or when you're speaking with your guest. And I think it's necessary. And the reason why this is important to have isolated sound in your ears is that if you are using if you don't have a mic, for example, like a USB mini, and you're using the mic that's on your webcam or that's on your computer, think about it. So that mic is picking up ambient sound from the speakers from your computer, right? And so not only will you get sound reflection off the glass, you'll get sound reflection. You could get echoing. You get into this echo loop that I'm sure all of you have heard. Because the sound is reverberating and it's kind of making this round and round thing. So I typically will coach people to just get the earbuds, get them isolated, and that way there's no feedback echo loop that's going on. Because every once in a while we'll have a guest on the show. They may have they may not have earbuds or headphones, and you can hear the echo that happens because they're listening to what Christine's saying, and that's coming out of their speakers, which is feeding back into their mic, and then it's feeding into the production, and then it's just not a clean signal that comes through.
Yeah, exactly. And so that is why, again, that goes back to how important audio is when it comes to recording and video streaming. You want to make sure you have that isolated sound going right into your hearing. So that is really, thank you for explaining why that's important, because a lot of people ask me, why do I need that? And so I think it's really good to educate everybody about why that's important, because when we know why, it kind of convinces us that, yeah, maybe we should invest it. And these are so inexpensive. They're like $15 on Amazon. Yeah. The link is in the feed here. And so yeah, check it out. And I really love my clear ones because I don't want it to show, and I can understand why you wear black ones. So it works really good. So one of the things I want to conclude with in terms of this is not really equipment, but it is such an important thing that you should consider when you're setting up your show is your internet connection. We've talked about this in the past at some other prior shows, but internet connection is so key, because the worst thing that could happen is if you're interviewing a guest and all of a sudden the signal drops or you don't have a good connection. And it really does impact the show in a negative way. And it's, something we can avoid. And the one most clear way to avoid this is to be hardwired right into your router with an Ethernet cable. And that's what I did because I knew I'd be podcasting for a long time. There are other solutions, and Rick can definitely speak to those because he's, again, a wealth of information on this. But the Ethernet cable is something that is very easy to get, and you can plug right into your router. So Rick, can you tell us a little bit about, solutions for, unstable or bad connection? I mean, you talked about one, like, you said that you had a client that had to use the hotspot from their phone, but any other thoughts on that?
Well, when I check somebody's Ethernet connection, or more specifically their speed, right, I want to know first of all, how fast is their internet? And so I have them do a speed test, and anyone can do a speed test. You just go to speedtest.net. It'll give you a couple of numbers. It'll give you the download speed, which is awesome because internet providers, ISPs, will sell you on how much data they can download. Well, for live streaming, that really doesn't matter. It's the upload speed that you're concerned with. You want to have it the fastest you can get. So, for instance, I think Cox has their basic, and I can't remember, but I think their basic is 10 megabytes per second up, which is fine. Which is fine. If you can get it faster, great. I know places that have fiber, like AT&T fiber, and we're not promoting AT&T or anything. I just know they have fiber, and because I've used it in the past in the neighborhood I used to live in, and it was smoking fast. So wherever you can get access to fiber, that's great. I mean, we had 150, no, we had like 500, almost a gigabyte download speed and 500 upload speed. So it was super, super fast, and that will certainly be will show up in the way your feed broadcasts out to Facebook or to YouTube from your computer. Then from that point, okay, so once it hits the house, that's one thing. Once it hits the house, now you go from your router to your computer, right? And it could be, and it could be your Wi-Fi router, or it could be a hardwired router like through Ethernet. So if it's amazing because people just kind of take Wi-Fi for granted. It's like, oh yeah, I'm connected fine, and then we find out during the production that no, it's not fine because it keeps dropping during the production, and you just run into all kinds of problems. So the closer you can be, if you can only do Wi-Fi, then get as close to your router, your Wi-Fi router that you can, to keep the integrity of the signal, because throughout the day Wi-Fi can fluctuate, right? It can drop. The signal can the actual source signal from your ISP can be unstable, number one, and that'll transmit into bad Wi-Fi, on your end. So just get as close as you can. I know there's systems out there where you can get the mesh that'll spread out the signal throughout the house and keep the integrity of the signal no matter what room that you're in. So you may want to look into that if you're having problems with Wi-Fi. But Christine alluded to the best solution, and that's to be hardwired to your router with an Ethernet cable. And so that's the most reliable. You take away any problems with Wi-Fi if you're hardwired to the router. And that's definitely, I mean, early on, that's basically saved several shows in the beginning, because it's like we were struggling with Christine's Wi-Fi in the beginning because we weren't getting the most solid Wi-Fi signal. Theirs is zoned throughout the house, and then you had a couple of different Wi-Fi receivers, and so you weren't always picking up the right one, and so it was just really confusing. So if at all possible, hardwire with Ethernet.
Yes, that trumps everything, right? That is the best way to do it. Well, I mean, here this was a technical show. I mean, really telling everybody about the things they need to to really start the show in terms of equipment, but it's a necessary show, right? It's the things that you don't want to spend time shopping for the things that you think are, would work. You kind of want the shortcut. And so this whole episode was designed to give you the shortcut and the checklist for all the equipment pieces you need to get started. Again, remember, with lighting, you can layer it. You don't have to have all the different lights, but this gives you, the level 1, level 2, level 3 checklist for equipment. So with the hashtag equip and shine, you can drop that into the comment box, and both Rick and I will jump on a call and help you figure out your equipment situation. So if you are interested in getting on a call with us, we can really help you dial in the equipment that you need for your very own show with the hashtag equip and shine. Okay, well, as you know, we wrap up every Waist Up Wardrobe episode with the Waist Up Wardrobe weekly wrap up. And the number one takeaway here is, remember, the audio. Audio is so important. It's the most important thing you can pay attention to when you are live or you're streaming or you're creating a show. Because most people, if they don't watch the show, they're definitely going to listen to it. And not hearing it well enough or having distracting sounds in it or not having a good mic can really turn them off of the show. Tips, remember, go back to the show and listen to all the look at this as a checklist where you can actually use this episode as a checklist for your shopping equipment list. Okay. And finally, an action item. Download the show notes from this episode because that will serve as your checklist, and go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining us here today on Waist Up Wardrobe episode 57. Join us next week at the same time, same place, where we will continue our podcasting series with F. And F is for flow. It's for show flow. So join us next week again and bring a friend.